Continue with the 40th chapter of the book of Yirmiyahu. The destruction of the Beit HaMikdash was described. Actually, I take that back. The destruction of Jerusalem and the kingship, especially the palaces, was described in the last chapter. Yirmiyahu, who had been in captivity for his own safety, or perhaps because of his words that didn't encourage the army, has been set free. And this is where we continue. Hadavar asher hayal Yirmiyahu meit Adonai, achar shalach oto Nebuzadran rav tabachim min arama bekachto oto, v'hu asur ba'azikim b'toch kol galut Yerushalayim, Yehuda hamugalim bavela. So word came to Yirmiyahu from God, and this is after he was set free by the terrible executor and general of the army of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuzadran. And Yirmiyahu, he was taken, chained with the Jews who were being exiled. And so Nebuzadran said to Yirmiyahu, your God said that this was going to happen. And now God has brought this to you because of your sins, and you did not listen. This is why it happened to you. And irony for this terrible person who was in charge of killing and murder and who knows what else, to say to Bnei Israel, this is your fault. May have been correct from God's perspective, but still think of the chutzpah and the nerve. In the last chapter, Nebuchadnezzar, as he's called in the last couple of chapters, Nebuchadnezzar, tells his general and his prime executor to take care of Yirmiyahu and to allow Yirmiyahu to do what he wants. And thus, Nebuzadran gives Yirmiyahu the choice. Do you want to come to Bavel or do you want to go somewhere else? Whatever you want to do, that's fine. V'yodenu lo yashuv v'shuvu el Gedalia ben Achikam ben Shafan asher yivkin melech Bavel barei Yehuda v'shevito b'toch ha'amo kol ha'yashar beinecha lechet lach v'yitem lo rab tabachim arucha u'maseit v'yishaleh. But Yirmiyahu didn't want to go to Bavel, right? Where did he want to go? He wanted to stay. He wanted to stay where he was in Israel. He wanted to stay with the people. So Nebuzadran gives him food and sets him on his own ways. If he would have gone to Bavel, Nebuzadran said, I would watch over you, make sure nothing bad happens. Again, this is the belief, which is the incorrect belief mentioned in the last chapter, that the Babylonians think that Yirmiyahu's on their side. Yirmiyahu's not on their side. Yirmiyahu is just telling Bnei Yisrael that they need to submit. He doesn't want the Bnei Yisrael to go to Bavel, but he knows that that's what's necessary. So Yirmiyahu goes to Gedaliah. Gedaliah in the last chapter, we're told, was appointed as the governor of the remaining poor Jews who were left in Israel, where all the wealthy, the powerful, the ones that hadn't yet been exiled, as most of them were exiled in the year 597, were exiled at this point, and Gedaliah was left in the city. Gedaliah, son of Achikam, remember all those chapters back? Achikam was the person who saved Yirmiyahu when the Jews were ready to kill him. So there's a long-standing relationship between Yirmiyahu and this family, Gedaliah ben Achikam ben Shaphan. Verse 7, Vayishma'u kol yisarei ha'chayalim asher basadehim avanashem ki yifkin melech Bavel Gedaliah ben Achikam ba'aretz v'yifkidot ito anashim v'nashim v'tafu midal taretz me'asher lo haglu bavela. And the army officers heard that Gedaliah was put in charge by the Babylonians, and that there were men, women, and children, the poorest of the people, were not exiled. And so people came to Gedaliah. V'Yishmael ben Netanyav, Yochanan v'Yonatan b'nei Kareach, Usraya ben Tanhumet, uvnei Efe hanetofi, hanetofati, V'Zanyahu ben Amachati, Hema van Shem. So a number of people came to see Yirmiyahu. See Gedaliah. The most important of is Yishmael, and then the second one, Yochanan. And Gedaliah, sounding like his friend Yirmiyahu, what does he say to them? Don't be afraid of the Babylonians. Stay in the land and serve the king of Bavel. Submit, and all will go well. I'm going to stay in Mitzvah, and I will make sure, I'm the diplomatic head. I'm not just ruling you, but I have to make sure that the Babylonians, the Chaldeans don't do anything to us. But you guys go into the field, gather wine and figs and oil, and right, go into the towns that you've occupied. And word spread all the way across the Jordan River to the Jews who had been exiled and were living amongst the Moabites or the Ammonites or the Edomites. And they heard that Gedaliah, the son of Shaphan, was the new leader, the installed leader of the Jewish people. And so many of the people of Yehuda, they returned from where they were scattered because they had faith that now they could follow Gedaliah. And because they were not as many as there were before, they were able to gather large quantities of wine and figs. So the destruction has happened. And now life can not only turn back to normal, but it can even be good for the survivors. Obviously, they're living with the trauma of the destruction. So it's not so simple, but at least they know they have what to eat and the enemy is no longer attacking. We're up to verse 13. Pasuk Gimel. Yochanan ben Karech choser echalim asher baseh bo el Gedaliah mitzbat. So Yochanan, we mentioned before, he and his brother Yonatan had come to Gedaliah, and now they came to Gedaliah in the field. Vayomru elav. So what is said? The Yochanan says that the king of Ammon wants to kill you, and he's sending Yishmael to kill you. But Gedaliah doesn't believe it. Interestingly, if we think back, the time when the first king was installed, King Shaul, who was the first threat made by? Nachash Ha'amoni. It was also a king of Ammon, Nachash, the snake. And so maybe, Nachash, maybe the Ammonites think that the Israelites are back then don't have a strong leader. We don't want a king. We want everyone together. And here too, when they have, even after the destruction, another leader, they're the first ones to come and attack. But Gedaliah doesn't believe it. Yochanan ben Kareach, Amar el Gedaliah b'seiter b'mitzvah lemor al-chana v'aket Yishmael ben Netanya v'ish lo yeda. And Yochanan, in fact, says to Gedaliah, I'll go kill Yishmael in secret. Nobody will know about it. And this way, all the Jews who have gathered, they'll be able to remain. Nothing bad is going to happen if we do this. Gedaliah does not believe Yochanan. He says that you are lying. And unfortunately, here, in a sense, and this is the end of a short chapter. We'll continue with in the middle of the story, which of course we know the ending to already. But Gedaliah, in a sense, is sort of like I would say the opposite of King David. When we have this moment where Yochanan says to Gedaliah, "Let me go and kill Yishmael. Nobody will know. I'll do it in secret." It sounds like the opposite of David sending a message to his general Yoav saying, I need you to take care of this guy. Get it done, and nobody will know. Back then, it was in the sense of sin. It was for the sense of David trying to cover over his sins, that he wants somebody to kill secretly. And as Rav Shmuel pointed out, with David, somehow magically, all the people who are in his way happen to die during the life of David. He's not responsible for all of them, but certainly with Uriah Hachiti is. Here with Gedaliah, we have just the opposite. Gedaliah can't believe it. He doesn't believe it. He's told, we can eliminate your enemies. Nobody will know. Nothing's going to happen. But he refuses to believe. And so Gedaliah here, unfortunately, seems to trust too much that the people are ready to continue, that they've submitted, and that maybe after the destruction of Jerusalem, after the killing of so many of the king's children, after the burning down of the palace, the walls of Jerusalem, after the king himself, Tzidkiyahu, was blinded and sent to taken back to Rivla in Babel, that maybe finally the Jews are ready to submit and will listen to what Yirmiyahu has been saying and what he has been saying, to not rebel, to submit, but they are not ready for that. And that's where we will continue with the story come tomorrow in chapter 41. Questions? Or I can't stop this recording. My phone is acting funny. Very acting funny. All right. Do you have any questions? fine if it.
Not today.